Hey guys, it's Codename Rosa. I noticed something in the recent Luke card under the Milky Way, aka his first anniversary card. Now, I'm not going to spoil it or anything, except for some small references I caught near the beginning and end of the card. So I guess if you really want to go through the story blind, stop watching here. Also, I don't follow the other servers, so please don't spoil me on anything in the future. Now, I'm just going to put this out there before I start my mini rant. This is mostly me just stretching things to fit in places they may or may not belong. I really have no idea if this is a reference. Secondly, I don't know if the creators even intended this, so keep that in mind as well. You'd think this was a big deal with all the disclaimers, but hey, let's get into it now. So remember when we started the game way back last year? Well, there was an interesting detail they included when we first met Luke. The scene changes to a flashback, a moment 8 years ago, and we find he's reading a Sherlock Holmes book. Now, not just any book, they chose to have him read The Sign of the Four. Being the huge Sherlock fan that I am, I quickly went back, at the time, and read it to try to predict what they were intending. I remember a few other people were trying to figure it out as well, but honestly, I can't remember what they found. Sorry guys. Anyway, so the quick synopsis of this book is, from the internet because I can't come up with a better description. Set in 1888, The Sign of the Four has a complex plot involving service in India, the Indian Mutiny of 1857, a stolen treasure, a secret pact among 4 convicts, the 4 of the title, and 2 corrupt prison guards. So clearly one's first thought when reading this book is to look into the 4, no? I mean, the N2X happens to have 4 main members, which are the 4 male leads of the game. That's, like, the obvious connection here. But I'm too lazy to try to figure that out. Instead, I went with the easier connection. In this book, Dr. Watson meets his future wife for the first time. The lady, named Mary Morstan, comes to Baker Street and asks Sherlock and Watson to investigate a bunch of mysterious stuff. You know, the usual. I won't get into the whole mystery thing. And Watson is pretty much instantly smitten with her. She seems to like him too, so like, score. Okay, the girl of his dreams just sort of shows up in front of him. But it's after she leaves that we get a little hint as to how this connects with Luke's relationship. Here, Watson says, "If my future were black, it was better surely to face it like a man than to attempt to brighten it by mere will-o'-the-wisps of the imagination." Let's move on in the story. They do a little investigating and find out that, if they solve the case, they would be finding a lost treasure. It would belong to Mary, of course, and as stated here, she would change from a needy governess to the richest heiress in England. Just gonna skim past that to Watson's reaction. Surely it was the place of a loyal friend to rejoice at such news, yet I am ashamed to say that selfishness took me by the soul, and that my heart turned as heavy as lead within me. Here we're seeing a slight resemblance to Luke, right? Right? I'm not too crazy, I swear. I could use a little imagination and say it's referring to Luke wanting to leave her alone to a happy life, but feeling the bit of selfishness inside him wanting to be a part of it. Reading on, some kinda scary stuff happens in the mystery, and Watson is taking Mary home after their investigation. On the way there, she starts crying. However, Watson doesn't really comfort her. He believes that he would be taking advantage of her weakened state to strengthen their relationship. He's not Vin. Sorry, I had to say it. This sounds very similar to something Luke does at the start of his anniversary card. Aaron wants Luke to make his confession romantic, but what does Luke say? "I don't want her to make an irrational decision in the heat of the moment. After giving her the letter, I'll leave Stellis for a couple of days, under the pretext of going out of town on business. That will give her some time alone to really think it through." So they both really don't want to take advantage of their girl being emotionally unstable. Now, this is very much just normal relationship stuff and not exactly a guaranteed reference, so let's keep going through this section. Worse still, she was rich. If Holmes's researches were successful, she would be an heiress. Was it fair, was it honorable, that a half-paced surgeon should take such advantage of an intimacy which chance had brought about? Now come on, this has got to be at least part of what HoYoverse wanted us to see. Luke feels like he would be taking advantage of the main character by marrying her with only 3 years left to live. He believes it unfair that she should have to deal with him and the troubles he brings. That's similar enough for my taste. But we're not done. Let's skip all the way to the end of Under the Milky Way, when we're just about wrapping up the card story. They throw in this nice little fairy tale about chasing the rainbow to find the treasure chest at the end. Now, that alone would be a really cute little plot point, but my silly major fangirl brain was like, no way! Let's check out near the end of The Sign of the Four, when they finally retrieve the treasure chest full of jewels. Watson brings the unopened box to Mary's place, and this is how it goes. "Let us turn to something brighter. There is the treasure. What could be brighter than that?"
だから当時の俺は よく虹を見かけるたびにお前を連れてお宝を探そうとしてたんだ。
With trembling fingers, I flung back the lid. We both stood gazing in astonishment. The box was empty. The treasure is lost, said Miss Morstan calmly. It was selfish, no doubt. Disloyal, wrong, but I could realize nothing save that the golden barrier is gone from between us. Thank God, I ejaculated from my very heart.
いや、実を言うと、本当はもうとっくに見つけてたんだ。
She looked at me with a quick questioning smile. Why do you say that? She asked. Because you are within my reach again, I said, taking her hand. She did not withdraw it. Because I love you, Mary, as truly as ever a man loved a woman. Because this treasure, these riches, sealed my lips. Now that they are gone, I can tell you how I love you. That is why I say thank God.
俺にとっての唯一無二の宝。それがお前だよ。
Then I say thank God too, she whispered, as I drew her to my side. Whoever had lost a treasure, I knew that night I had gained one.
だから俺はもうお前を手放したりはしない。
Needless to say, I freaked out as a fan of both of these things. They work so well together, even if not perfectly. Luke now doesn't have to restrain his feelings due to being unfair, and while they may not have found the treasure chest, they knew the treasure was each other all along. Such a sweet ending to this story arc. So, that's it for my random spillage of fangirl knowledge, trying to piece together the twisted jigsaw puzzle of headcanons. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. Rosa signing out.